What's going on, everybody? Happy Wednesday. I'm here mid-ride in Virginia Key. This is Key Biscayne here in Miami, Florida. And in today's video, I'm going to be talking about how to stay motivated. And motivation comes in many different ways. I think where it starts is definitely with turning motivation into discipline. One of the things you have to really take into account is to never let your flame go out. You know, if you think about a candle or a fire providing you with warmth, you want to be able to continue to feed that fire. And I think the same thing goes with cycling and staying motivated through cycling. There's a lot of things that come into play I think about as well for myself that got me motivated and continues to keep me motivated. And I think a lot of that has to do with struggle. There's a motivational speaker. His name is Eric B. Thomas, who talks a lot about that as well in his videos. So you can definitely check him out. But a lot of my motivation came through struggle. You know, I grew up in the hood, and I'm not trying to say that to be funny, but I think a lot of the struggles that I've dealt with growing up as a child definitely kept me motivated. And I think one of the things that Eric B. Thomas says is if you want it bad enough to where you want to be able to breathe along those lines, you know, if you want it so bad that as if you want to be able to breathe, then like you'll stay motivated. You know, if that was your breath, your last breath, you would stay motivated to continue to keep that going. I think also too, there's a lot of things that come into play, like habit. What is the first thing that you do when you get up in the morning? You know, are you talking to God? Are you having a conversation with yourself? Or are you just jumping on social media, scrolling on Instagram? I think a lot of those things like play a big part in staying motivated and disciplined, to be honest. I always allow myself time to first talk to the higher power, God up there, and thank God for giving me another day of light, another day to be able to get on a bike and ride. And then I think too about my habits. What am I doing? Am I planning the night before in order to be able to stay disciplined and get my bike ready? Whether it's making sure I'm eating the nutrition that I need to be able to fuel my rides. Am I going to bed on time, or am I just staying up on my phone scrolling and then doom scrolling through bed? You know, these are all things that really play a big role on how you stay motivated, you know, and those are just things that you hold dear to yourself. But outside of that, there's also the environment. And let's talk about that for a little bit. I think who you be around is going to definitely motivate you as well and determine whether or not you stay disciplined. And I think it's important to be around people who support you and to be around people who are interested in the same things that you are, whether it's your friends group, whether it's your relationships that you have with your family or with your significant other. I think a lot of those things determine whether or not we're going to be able to get up the next morning to get out there and get after it. But I think one of the true things is your friends, you know, your friends group. Are they motivating you to get up out of bed? Are they giving you a phone call? Are they hitting you up and saying, yo, you know, Dwayne, we got this? Or whoever you are, you know, this is just a quick spot check. We're going to get out there at like 6 a.m. to go for a ride. Those are people that you want in your circle. But if there are people who are in your circle that aren't for you, who aren't patting you on the back or, you know, motivating you to continue giving you positive affirmations, whether it's through cycling, whether it's connecting on different things even outside of cycling, I think those are definitely things too that play a big role in you being motivated to continue your journey through cycling and also just in general becoming more disciplined. You know, motivation is not going to do it at all. You know, you really need to transition that motivation into discipline, and that's going to happen over time. But you got to start somewhere, and I think one of the places to start is to have that conversation with yourself and plan ahead. You know, get to bed early, eat the right food, and make sure everything is lined up in your environment that's gonna be able to promote you to be able to get out there and do what you need to do to get those rides in or whatever, you know. You know, this morning I couldn't get out there for a ride, but I knew I wanted to stay consistent, you know. And I think too, consistency is important as well. You know, there's two types of riders. There's rider one who stays consistent and may ride 3 hours throughout the week every day for 6 days out of the week and one rest day. And then there's a rider who, rider number two, who's the rider who puts in 1 hour efforts, but can only ride like 3 days out the week. Come Saturday, what rider do you think is going to be able to be stronger, be able to sustain their energy better during a long group ride for, say, 60 plus miles? It's going to be that rider number one who put in the 3 hours of riding every day for 6 days, one rest day, but because they put in the hours over the intensity is what's going to get them to become more sustainable in this sport of cycling and in their journey of cycling. So I think, you know, dropping the ego is another thing as well. You got to be able to let that go, throw that in the trash, because that's going to put you in a position where that's all you'll be able to rely on for you to get out there and stay motivated to ride. Forget everything and unlearn everything that you've thought that you are as an athlete when it comes to cycling, and just start small. And I think the consistency that you put in, the long hours every day throughout the week, and planning in advance for those rides is what's going to get you more discipline. That motivation is going to turn into that. You know, I think I got this new bike that I had set up, and it's definitely motivating me to ride. But at the end of the day, I've always been a disciplined person. I'm able to ride even if my bike is not this bike. It could be messed up. I'll find a way to do something. And if I'm not riding, I sure as hell I'm going to be doing some kind of workout. I'm going to be either running, and if I'm not able to run, I'm going to be walking. And if I can't walk, I'll be doing some kind of thing like yoga, stretching, or something. And if I can't do that, I'm going to be wiggling, because I tell you something, I'm going to be moving my body. And I think this doesn't only apply to cycling. I think this also applies to other things and other sports that you might have of interest, and turning that motivation into discipline. So, you know, funny story. There was once upon a time where, like, I wanted to quit when I was on my US tour. I might have been like in Illinois or something like that, and I just broke down. And I was thinking to myself, like, why the heck am I doing this, man? Like, why am I out here riding from the US, from New York to California, across the US? And I was gonna call it right then and there. I was gonna be like, you know, I'm going home. But then I thought about that flame going out and my desire to fulfilling my dreams and hitting those goals. And I thought about the struggle. I thought about what was back home for me, what I'm leaving behind back home. And if you think about those things, you have to really go into that, what David Goggins would call a cookie jar or whatever it is, or just go back to those things that were really burning you inside, or things that may have hurt you inside, or things that, you know, were unfortunate in your life, and just pull them out and just, you know, have that as a reminder of what you're fighting for. So that's another way to kind of tackle that whole discipline and that being on the offense of discipline is doing nothing, you know, and quitting. So you don't want to be on that opposite end of that spectrum, you know. So I think it's important to definitely think about those things, you know, as you're going through your cycling journey. But as a beginner cyclist, I mean, my advice is to definitely just plan ahead and stay consistent. And I think what's going to happen when you're motivated by doing that, it's going to build that motivation over time. You'll build that routine. That routine is going to turn into discipline, and then it's going to be second nature from that point, because you're gonna want to get out there as you see yourself improving as a cyclist and everything. So just some things that I wanted to share there, some tips. I have a coaching program that I offer. It's called Velo Hit, and I've helped a lot of people with it. And my goal is to help people help themselves get fit faster and stronger in the body, on the bike, and in the mind. So if you're interested in that program, definitely check out the website velohit.com, and you could book a consultation call with me, and we could talk about how I might be the right fit or not to help you out throughout your cycling journey. But other than that, I would love to hear what y'all have to say about getting motivated, staying disciplined, because that's the main goal, is to stay disciplined and consistent, in the comments below. And I'll see y'all. I gotta finish my ride. I'm only did 1 lap, so I got another one to go, maybe a 1.5 to go. So I'll see you guys in another video. Like, comment, subscribe. Peace out.